You are Locked On Wolves POSTCAST, part of Locked On Minnesota on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And the great week for Minnesota sports continues, Jack. Wow, another embarrassing loss by the Wolves tonight, blowing their second late game lead in a row. They end up losing in overtime to the Kings tonight, 117-112. That's your final. Wolves move to 10-7 now on the year. What's happening? What's going on? Back in the lab, back at it. Another T-Wolves postcast, all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which thanks to you guys, now the #1 sports podcast network. That's Jack Borman, of course, a Wolves expert, NBA expert. Give him a follow on X at Jared Borman 13. Luke Inman at Luke_Spin. We got to follow our guy Ben Beacon as well, host of the Locked On Timberwolves show. And remember to like and subscribe. Lots to get into, Jack. Who fudged this thing up the most tonight? Plus our biggest turning point as well. But just off the top here, like we always do, kind of set the stage. No Sabonis for the Kings tonight. On the flip side, Wolves get Terrence Shannon Jr. back after missing those 9 games with the ankle. Wolves up 10 with 5 to play, but by golly, Jack, credit to the Kings. They just wouldn't go away. They tie this thing back up at 99 apiece with about a minute and change left. In comes the wave of deja vu. PTSD hits the Wolves fans like a ton of bricks after, again, that choke job Friday night to the Suns. We end up going to overtime. DeMar DeRozan goes nuclear. Wolves can't find an answer, and we get to watch another what should have been a win turn into another massive L. Their streak, by the way, 10 in a row versus teams below 500. That's officially snapped. Jack, just walk me through the last 5 minutes in the overtime and what you were seeing out there, and any correlations, I guess, from Friday's game did you see again tonight play out?
Yeah, what I saw again is that doing Wolves content right now is not for the faint of heart. Having an outline prepped and ready to go live and having that go up in smoke for the second late night in a row is a tough one on a personal front. But over the last 5 minutes for the Timberwolves, yeah, I just think that there's no flow. It was a lot of Anthony Edwards dominating the ball and not a lot of getting other guys involved. And the Wolves just weren't able to cobble together stops on the other end of the floor and then be able to push pace and run off of them, right? That's how we've seen the Timberwolves play for the majority of this season when they've been at their best. And certainly they did not have that in the overtime, right? I think for Anthony Edwards, he did his best effort in terms of being able to score. I think he had 3 straight scores in overtime that were all pretty important to at least keep pace with the Kings. But then when the Wolves did get stops on the other end, you just have 2 of the biggest boneheaded turnovers you'll ever see from Jaden McDaniels, who is god-awful on the offensive end of the floor tonight, had 4 turnovers, which ties a career high for him, a season high for him. And then Rudy Gobert, again, just seems to be afraid of dribbling the basketball in the backcourt and trying to find somebody. And again, just throws a very weak kind of passage. Just looked like he couldn't really make up his mind of exactly where he wanted to go with the ball. And you just can't have that, right? I think you look at the Jaden McDaniels turnover in overtime. It was 2 minutes left. The Wolves had a fast break opportunity after just an incomprehensible Russ turnover. And then that turns into a Keegan Murray 3-pointer on the other end. So that's a 5-point swing right there. And then when Rudy Gobert, does the same thing, you have an opportunity to try to go down and score and I believe tie the game. And you just give it away. So I think for the Wolves, the long and the short of it is this team just doesn't look like a team that has been to the Western Conference Finals 2 years in a row. I mean, it's very uncharacteristic of a team like that to have a second straight loss, blowing a double-digit lead inside of 5 minutes left in the game. I mean, this team, second straight game, giving up a 9-0 run inside of 3 minutes left in the game. The Wolves are up 10 with 3 minutes left. So I think when you have that, it's not only just offense, but it's just a disappointing and I think, frankly, kind of frightening lack of cohesion on the defensive end of the floor. I think it was very clear that the Kings wanted this game more than the Timberwolves. I mean, you saw Julius Randle on one end just watch the ball go, over the out of bounds line as Malik Monk flies in for a crazy save. That to me told the story of the game. And so I think When you don't play hard enough on the defensive end of the floor, you lose 50-50 balls, and you don't try to force the ball out of the other team's best players' hands late in the game. I think you kind of get what's coming. And for the Timberwolves, hopefully it's a wake-up call for them. I mean, it's super alarming that that the other night wasn't a wake-up call for them, especially on what was basically a win and you're in situation for the play-in game. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, having to go to Oklahoma City is about the worst possible place you could go, coming off of 2 straight losses like this. So we'll see what happens.
Let's get into who messed this one up the most tonight here, Jack.
Uh-oh, somebody messed up, and it's time to let them know with who fudged up.
I mean, maybe a laundry list of options here after this one, the way things played out. But was there one guy specifically you were just really disappointed with tonight? Maybe a guy, especially as we look towards OKC on Wednesday and beyond, right? You're thinking this guy's got to start playing better, flip a switch, so to speak, if the Wolves are going to start to shake some of this bad energy they got going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, you could have gone either way in the Wolves starting front court, but I would go with Julius Randle in this game. And the reason why I would go with Randle in this game is because I think it's kind of a worrying trend now for Randle over the past 2 games. And he's got 11 turnovers over the last 2 games. He looks rather lethargic on the offensive end of the floor. He's not getting all the way to the rim and finishing like we've seen him early on in the season. And it just doesn't seem like he has the same kind of patience and ability to mix up the different spots on the floor from where he's attacking. And I think he's holding the ball for way too long. And that's not something that we saw at the early part of this season. It's not something we saw in the playoffs last year. And for Julius, I think it's unfortunate as well, because Oklahoma City is a team where they really need his physicality and his ability to play quick off the catch and get into the paint and spray the ball out and break down a really strong Oklahoma City defense. And so for Randle, I think he's just got to be able to give them more juice off the ball, especially on a night where Ant has it going for the most part. And I just think the way that he was able to fade into the background the way that he did was I thought pretty concerning in this game. And he did do a good job on the defensive glass. He had 8 rebounds on the defensive end, which is a strong sign for him. But again, I mean, he has not been very good off the ball as the low man. I think he's been helping a lot. Far too much tagging rollers instead of staying connected to backside shooters. He's getting back cut. And he has been getting beat on the offensive glass as well from corner crashers too. So I think for Randle, it's just, I think you got to get back to him taking some good shots, being able to take the ball from Ant and play that de facto point guard spot. And I think, it just doesn't look like the two of those guys are playing off of each other in the way that they did at the start of the season. And I think that, they can certainly get back to it. And we could look back at this in 2 or 3 weeks and say, thankfully that was a blip on the radar. And I don't think it's a reason to, sound a ton of alarm bells, but it's certainly worrying. I think that, Randle has had these 2 games and the 2 results have been what they've been. And you could say that's a coincidence, but I don't necessarily think it is. And I think when Ant doesn't feel like he has enough help, he gets into kind of the ISO ball and ball hoggy nature that we saw. And that's what happened in the fourth quarter, especially where the Wolves just didn't get any good shots over the final, 3 minutes and change of this game. So Julius Randle certainly needs to be a lot better against Oklahoma City. And knowing Julius, I mean, he's going to be a guy who probably won't sleep very much tonight and is going to wear this one. And I think come out and be ready to go on Wednesday.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Just real quick, we don't need to spend a ton of time on it, but again, Wolves up 5 heading into the fourth. Then they kind of kick things off with a nice run. It seemed like they got into a groove. Things were clicking, up 10 with 5 to play. Just take it from there. Was there one moment, one sequence that you noticed that just really started to deflate things as you were watching in real time?
Yeah, Malik Monk just needed to see a shot go down, right? Yeah. I think everybody that's in the chat has probably watched these Wolves-Kings games over the last few years and has seen what Malik Monk has done to the Timberwolves. And for him to miss a couple of shots and then just come right back and get one to drop. He was going right at Rudy Gobert all game, making some really, really tough shots on perfect defense. And yeah, I think when you let a guy like Malik Monk see one go down, and then allow the Kings to play off him and DeMar DeRozan, with also having Zach LaVine as an option out there late. I think that it's just tough to defend if you're the Timberwolves. And so I think for them not being able to turn off Monk's water, DeRozan's water, and allow them to play off each other the way that they did down the stretch, certainly spelled kind of bad news for the Wolves. And again, I think it just goes down to guys taking a little bit more pride on the defensive end of the floor. I thought again tonight the perimeter ball contain was not very good. And, fortunately for the Wolves, for the majority of this game, the Kings just did a terrible job of knocking down open shots. I mean, the Kings were 7 of 26 from 3. I would venture to guess that more than half of those were wide open. So, again, Timberwolves just have to take more pride on the defensive end of the floor, especially late in these games against some of the other team's best players.
Yeah, well said there. Plenty more deep dive, including Terrence Shannon Jr. and Rob Dillingham coming off the bench, plus what we'll be talking about tomorrow morning. That's all coming up right after this. Quick reminder, today's episode brought to us by Monarch Money. You ever go check your bank account and go, where'd my money go? Dining out, online shopping, entertainment. So easy to lose track, isn't it? That's why there's Monarch Money. It's not just another budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, spending. It's all in one place. So you stop just managing your money and instead you start building a little bit of wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com. You're getting 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONNBA. You're getting half off your entire first year. This episode also brought to us by PrizePicks. Without a doubt, it's just the most fun I have playing daily fantasy. You can win up to 25 times your money this NBA season. And why I love it, so easy to play. All you got to do, you select 2 or more players. You pick more or less on their projected stats. It can be points, a rebound, assist, 3-pointers, you name it, they got it. Plus, they now offer Apple Pay, quick and easy deposits into your account all season long. Right now, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the code LockedOnNBA. You're getting a first deposit match up to $100. That's promo code LockedOnNBA at prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. 100% bonus match up to $100. Last but certainly not least, this episode brought to us by Built. Nobody likes paying rent, but if you gotta, you might as well get something for it. That's where Built comes in. They're changing the game by turning your rent into things you can actually use. When you pay rent through Built, you're in flexible points. Those points can be redeemed towards hundreds of hotels, airlines, future rent payment, your Lyft ride, you name it, they got it. Take your rent and turn it into rewards. Start making points around your neighborhood. Go to joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. That's joinbuilt.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the link so they know we sent you. Just a quick hitter or two here I want to run by. The young pups, they always catch my attention. Terrence Shannon Jr. making his return tonight, missed 9 games with that ankle bruise. What'd you see from him from that lens? What's he mean coming off the bench? And then another bench guy, obviously, Robbie D. Still feels like he's slowly but surely building a little bit of momentum little by little out there. Agree, I guess, or disagree?
Yeah, I think for TJ, we'll start there. So Alan Horton said on the broadcast, and I thought this was significant, was trying to do some sniffing around last week, and some Wolves people were keeping it pretty close to the vest. But he said that TJ was experiencing foot soreness at the start of this season, and that he tried to play through it before, eventually saying, Wolves medical staff deciding that they needed to sit him to recover from that, and miss 9 games with that left foot bruise. And so I think for TJ as a guy who's like speed and power and physicality is super important to his offensive identity, I think it makes a little bit more sense why he's a little bit more hesitant on the offensive end of the floor, not only in the early going, but again tonight. I think anybody who's had any type of lower body injuries, I think whether you're a professional athlete or not knows that it's pretty tough to trust your body when you're kind of coming back. So, we saw the same thing with Ant. It took him a game to kind of get his feet underneath him, and then he was off and running after that. So hopefully for TJ, it's a similar thing. But I liked that they played TJ at the 4 and sat both Julius and Rudy late in that first quarter. Again, I think, I'd prefer Mike to not be out there in those minutes, just because I think Mike's been a lot better in situations where Rudy is also out there, and I think the kind of the wowie combinations would bear that out. But yeah, I think just didn't really make his presence felt for TJ tonight. Had 3 fouls, struggled a little bit in the one-on-one matchup against DeMar DeRozan, but he was the 8th man, and I thought that was significant, right? That Jalen Clark only played 6 minutes before he came in at the end of the game, and we sat up here on Friday night and said, hey, why don't you put Jalen Clark in at the end of the game? And Finch said, you know what? I probably should have done that in that game. And so he puts Clark in tonight. And Clark makes an unfortunate mistake of picking up and away from the play foul before the ball was inbounded, which was, 1 point and the ball, which is pretty tough when you're down 1 already. So that it instead makes a make 2 free throws a 4-point game instead of a 3-point game. And I think Finch probably just wanted more offense out there tonight. And I get the sense that Chris Finch probably doesn't like the way that defenses are kind of ignoring Jalen Clark and daring him to shoot that corner 3, and that can crater the spacing a little bit. But again, still think that probably would have liked to see him out there just for some energy at different points in this game. But with Rob Dillingham, yeah, I think Rob's defense I thought was really, really strong in this game. I think it's probably 3rd or 4th game in a row where his defense has been a bright spot for me personally. Coming away from these games, I think he's doing a much better job of kind of getting around screens and contesting shots. And I think he's been kind of a pest and found ways to kind of sneak underneath screens and kind of lay in the weeds and then strike and steal passes. And he had 3 steals in 9 minutes tonight, which was great. And 2 of them were really, really high level plays. And then for him, had 3 assists and probably could have had 2 or 3 more with the way that he set up a couple of shots in transition. So again, I really do trust Rob Dillingham's ability to set guys up. I think if you turn on the film and don't really look at the stats quite as much, I think that sticks out quite a bit. It's just the scoring has to come. And again, on a night when the Wolves bench really doesn't give you a whole lot, Naz Reid, 15 points, but took 15 shots to get there, made only 1 of his 6 threes. I think it's just really tough when it feels right now as though the entire bench production is just on Naz Reid's shoulders, and that can't necessarily be the case. I think I'd like to see Bones Highland try to get some minutes if this continues. If TJ continues to struggle, if Rob continues to not really be able to give you much scoring, I think that might be an avenue that I would go in. But I understand why Finch may not necessarily do that. But again, for Mike to play 25 minutes and make only 3 shots or 3 points on his 4 3-point attempts is tough. And only 8 getting outscored 42-18 on the benches is pretty brutal.
This is what you'll be talking about.
I mean, man, I feel like we could go a multitude, I should say, of ways on this one tonight, Jack. But, I'm just thinking about OKC looming next now. For you and your money, what's the A topic tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the Timberwolves, what Timberwolves are going to show up, right? I think the Timberwolves have a good opportunity to put all this behind them if they can show up, be professionals on Wednesday and get a win in Oklahoma City. I mean, they're certainly good enough to get a win in Oklahoma City. I mean, this is a Timberwolves team that's had a top 5 offense for the majority of the season. It's have a top 5 half-court offense for the majority of the season. And I think something that I'm keen to seeing is, Dante DiVincenzo, right? He's been playing 1 pass away from Ant while Ant's been doubled and teams have been playing him in the gaps and ball screen coverage. And I think Oklahoma City is going to do a similar thing, try to force the ball out of his hands. And I think Dante's got to be ready to let it rip from the slot like he has when Ant's faced those types of coverages. And for him, made 5 of his 13 threes tonight, 17 points. I think he's going to need to have a similar type of game. But yeah, I think what everybody will be talking about for sure is just the fact that the Timberwolves haven't been able to close, right? And I think for Anthony Edwards, who's been in so many crazy clutch time, big game situations over the course of the last few seasons, you'd certainly hope that he would, I think, have a little bit better decision-making and kind of sense, okay, I've taken the last 3 or 4 possessions and they've torpedoed a little bit and we haven't gotten a whole lot. Let's try to work the ball to the second side, get the defense moving a little bit, and trust that the ball will come back to me. That didn't necessarily happen, and he didn't get a whole lot of help from Julius Randle either. And it's just unfortunate that for Ant, second straight game of 40+ points that unfortunately we're not going to be talking about too much, just because he's had an opportunity to close the door in both games and wasn't able to get it done.
Great stuff per usual, Jack. T-Wolves choke away their second game in a row, 117-112. That's your final in Sacramento in overtime. 10-7 now on the year. Much love to all you guys, all the everydayers out there that always make us your first listen. All you guys coming in the chat. Chat was blowing up tonight. Appreciate you guys. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Go follow Jack at JRBorman13. We'll catch you Wednesday, 2 nights from now at OKC. It's a 6:30 tip. Until then, thanks for watching. Signing out.